Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna, Keshava, Krishna, Keshava, Krishna, Keshava, Pahimam. You can read with us, you can sit here, so you can... okay, should I start?
You start.
Hare Krishna everyone, we're a little late. We were rushing here to do at least some reading today. So, the kidnapping of Subhadra. Where we are? Here, yeah? Fortunately, the king of Mithila was as good a devotee as the Brahmana. The name of this famous king was Bahulashva. He was very well established in his reputation as a good king, and he was not at all ambitious to extend his kingdom for the sake of sense gratification. As such, both the Brahmana and the king Bahulashva remained pure devotees of Lord Krishna in Mithila. Since Lord Krishna was very merciful toward these two devotees, King Bahulashva and the Brahmana Shrutadev, he only asked his driver Taruka to take his chariot in the capital city of Mithila. Lord Krishna was accompanied by great sage Narada, Vamadev, Atri, Vyasadev, Parashuram, Asita, Aruni, Brihaspati, Kanva, Maitreya, Chavana, and others. Lord Krishna and the sages passed through many villages and towns, and everywhere the citizens would receive them with great respect and offer them articles in worship. When the citizens came to see Lord Krishna and all of them assembled together in one place, it seemed as though the sun were present, along with his various satellite planets. In that journey, Lord Krishna and the sages passed through the kingdoms of Anarta, Tanva, Kurujangala, Kanka, Matsya, Panchala, Kunti, Madhu, Kekaya, Koshala, and Arna. And thus all the citizens of these places, both men and women, could see Lord Krishna face to face. In this way, they enjoyed celestial happiness, with open hearts full of love and affection for the Lord. And when they saw the face of the Lord, it seemed to them that they were drinking nectar through their eyes. When they saw Krishna, all the ignorant misconceptions of their lives dissipated. When the Lord passed through the various countries and the people came to visit him, simply by glancing over them, the Lord would bestow all good fortune upon them and liberate them from all kinds of ignorance. In some places, the demigods would join with the human beings, and their glorification of the Lord would cleanse all directions of all inauspicious things. In this way, Lord Krishna slowly and gradually reached the kingdom of Videha. When the citizens received the news of the Lord's arrival, they all felt unlimited happiness and came to welcome him, taking gifts in their hands to offer. As soon as they saw Lord Krishna, their hearts immediately blossomed in transcendental bliss, just like lotus flowers on the rising of the sun. Previously, they had simply heard the names of the great sages, but had never seen them. Now...
7:4. By the mercy of Lord Krishna, they had the opportunity of seeing both the great sages and the Lord himself. King Bahulasva and the Brahmana Shrutadev, knowing well that the Lord had come there just to grace them with favour, immediately fell at the Lord's lotus feet and offered their respects. With folded hands, the king and the Brahmana each simultaneously invited Lord Krishna and all the sages to his home. In order to please both of them, Lord Krishna expanded himself into two and went into the houses of each one of them. Yet neither the king nor the Brahmana could understand that the Lord had gone to the house of the other. Both thought that the Lord had gone only to his house, that he and his companions were present in both houses, although both the Brahmana and the king thought that he was present in one house only. Is another opulence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This opulence is described in the revealed scriptures as Vaibhav Prakasha, When Lord Krishna married 16,000 wives, he also expanded himself into 16,000 forms, each one of them as powerful as himself. Similarly, in Vrindavan, when Brahma stole Krishna's cows, calves and cowherd boys, Krishna expanded himself into many new cows, calves and boys. Bahulasva, the king of Vidya, was very intelligent and was a perfect gentleman. He was astonished that so many great sages, along with the personality of Godhead, were personally present in his home. He knew perfectly well that the conditioned soul, especially when engaged in worldly affairs, cannot be 100% pure, whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his pure devotees are always transcendental to worldly contamination. Therefore, when he found that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and all the great sages were at his home, he was astonished and began to thank Lord Krishna for his causeless mercy. Feeling very much obliged and wanting to receive his guests to the best of his ability, he called for nice chairs and cushions, and Lord Krishna, along with all the sages, sat down very comfortably. At that time, King Bahulasva's mind was very restless, not because of any problems, but because of great ecstasy of love and devotion. His heart was filled with love and affection for the Lord and his associates, and his eyes were filled with tears of ecstasy. He arranged to wash the feet of his divine guests, and after washing them,
Them.
oh,
No way.
we've lost it. What to do?
Okay.
After
washing them, he and his family members sprinkled the water on their own heads. After this, he offered the guests nice flower garlands, sandalwood pulp, incense, new garments, ornaments, lamps, cows and bulls. In a manner just befitting his royal position, he worshipped each one of them in this way. When all had been fed sumptuously and were sitting very comfortably, Bahulashva came before Lord Krishna and caught his lotus feet. He placed them on his lap, and while massaging the feet with his hands, began to speak about the glories of the Lord in a sweet voice. My dear Lord, you are the super soul of all living entities, and as witness within the heart are cognizant of everyone's activities. As such, being duty-bound, we always think of your lotus feet so that we can remain in a secure position and not deviate from your eternal service. As a result of our continuous remembrance of your lotus feet, you have kindly visited my place, personally to favor me with your causeless mercy. We have heard, my dear Lord, that by your various statements you confirm that pure devotees to be more dear to you than Lord Balaram or your constant servitor, the goddess of fortune. Your devotees are dearer to you than your first son, Lord Brahma, and I am sure that you have so kindly visited my place in order to prove your divine statement. I cannot imagine how people can be godless and demoniac even after knowing of your causeless mercy and affection for your devotees who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness. How can they forget your lotus feet? My dear Lord, it is known to us that you are so kind and liberal that when a person leaves everything just to engage in Krishna consciousness, you sometimes give yourself in exchange for that unalloyed service. You have appeared in the Yadu dynasty to fulfill your mission of reclaiming all conditioned souls rotting in the sinful activities of material existence. And this appearance is already famous all over the world. My dear Lord, you are the ocean of unlimited mercy, love and affection. Your transcendental form is full of bliss, knowledge and eternity. You can attract everyone's heart by your beautiful form as Shyama Sundar, Krishna. Your knowledge is unlimited, and to teach all people how to execute devotional service, you have sent your incarnation, Nara Narayan, who is engaged in severe austerities and penances at Badari Narayana. Kindly, therefore, accept my humble obeisances at your lotus feet. My dear Lord, I beg to request you and your companions, the great sages and brahmanas, to remain at my...
Oh,
fell in
Okay.
samadhi.
Yeah, we'll listen attentively. Remain my place. Mhm. So that this family of the famous King Nimi may be sanctified by the dust of your lotus feet, at least for a few days. Lord Krishna could not refuse the request of his devotee, and thus he remained there for a few days with the sages to sanctify the city of Mithila and all his citizens. Meanwhile, the Brahmana, simultaneously receiving Lord Krishna and his associates at his home, was transcendently overwhelmed with joy. After offering his guests nice sitting places, the Brahmana began to dance, throwing his wrap around his body. Shrutadeva, being not at all rich, offered only mattresses, wooden planks, straw carpets, and so on to his distinguished guests, Lord Krishna and the sages. But he welcomed them to the best of his ability. He spoke very highly of the Lord and the sages, and he and his wife washed the feet of each one of them. After this, he took the water and sprinkled it over all the members of his family, and although the Brahmana appeared very poor, he was at that time most fortunate. While Shrutadev was welcoming Lord Krishna and his associates, he simply forgot himself in transcendental joy. After welcoming the Lord and his companions according to his ability, he brought fruits, incense, scented water, scented clay, tulsi leaves, kusha straw, and lotus flowers. They were not costly items and could be secured very easily, but because they were offered with devotional love, Lord Krishna and his associates accepted them gladly. The Brahmana's wife cooked simple foods like rice and dal, and Lord Krishna and his followers were very pleased to accept them because they were offered in devotional love. When Lord Krishna and his associates were fed in that way, the Brahmana Shrutadev was thinking thus: I am fallen into the deep dark well of householder life and am the most unfortunate person. How has it become possible that Lord Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his associates, the great sages, whose very presence makes a place as sanctified as a pilgrimage site, have agreed to come to my place? While the Brahmana was thinking in this way, the guests finished their lunch and sat back very comfortably. At that time, the Brahmana Shrutadev and his wife, children, and other relatives appeared there to render service to the distinguished guests. While touching the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, the Brahmana began to speak. My dear Lord, he said, you are the Supreme Person, Purushottam, situated transcendentally to the manifested and unmanifested material creation. The activities of this material world and
Oh, there were things. And of the conditioned souls have nothing to do with your position. We can appreciate that not only today have you given me your audience, but you are associating with all the living entities as Paramatma since the beginning of creation. This statement by the Brahmana is very instructive. It is a fact that the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, in his Paramatma feature enters the creation of this material world as Mahavishnu, Garbhadakashaya Vishnu and Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. And in a very friendly attitude, the Lord sits along with the conditioned soul in the body. Therefore, every living entity has the Lord with him from the very beginning. But due to his mistaken consciousness of life, the living entity cannot understand this. When his consciousness, however, is changed into Krishna consciousness, he can immediately understand how Krishna is trying to assist the conditioned souls to get out of the material entanglement. Shrutadev continued, my dear Lord, you have entered this material world as if sleeping. A conditioned soul, while sleeping, creates false or temporary worlds. He becomes busy in many illusory activities, sometimes becoming a king, sometimes being murdered, or sometimes going to an unknown city. And all these are simply temporary affairs. Similarly, your Lordship, apparently also in a sleeping condition, enters this material world to create a temporary manifestation. Not for your personal necessities, but for the conditioned soul who wants to imitate your Lordship as enjoyer. The conditioned soul's enjoyment in the material world is temporary and illusory, and yet the conditioned soul is by himself unable to create such a temporary situation for his illusory enjoyment. To fulfill his desires, although they are temporary and illusory, you went to this temporary manifestation to help him. Thus, from the beginning of the conditioned soul's entering into the material world, you are his constant companion. When, therefore, the conditioned soul comes in contact with a pure devotee and takes to devotional service, beginning from the process of hearing your transcendental pastimes, glorifying your transcendental activities, worshipping your eternal form in the temple, offering prayers to you and engaging in discussion to understand your transcendental position, he gradually becomes freed from the contamination of material existence. His heart becomes cleansed of all material dust, and thus you gradually become visible in the heart of the devotee. Although you are... Hare Krishna.
Although you are constantly with the conditioned soul, only when he becomes purified by devotional service do you become revealed to him. Others who are bewildered by fruitive activities, either by Vedic injunction or by customary dealings, and who do not take to devotional service, are captivated by the external happiness of the bodily concept of life. You are not revealed to such persons. Rather, you remain far, far away from them. But for one who engages in your devotional service and purifies his heart by constant chanting of your holy name, you are very easily understood as his eternal constant companion. It is said that your lordship, sitting in the heart of a devotee, gives him direction by which he can very quickly come back home, back to you. This direct dictation by you reveals your existence within the heart of the devotee. Only a devotee can immediately appreciate your existence within his heart, whereas for a person who has only a bodily concept of life and is engaged in sense gratification, you always remain covered by the curtain of Yogamaya. Such a person cannot realize that you are very near, sitting within his heart. For a non-devotee, you are appreciated only as ultimate death. The difference is like the difference between a cat's carrying its kitten in its mouth and a cat's carrying a rat in its mouth. In the mouth of the cat, the rat feels its death, whereas the kittens in the mouth of the cat feel motherly affection. Similarly, you are present to everyone, but the non-devotee feels you as ultimate cruel death, whereas for a devotee you are the supreme instructor and philosopher. The atheist, therefore, understands the presence of God as death, but the devotee understands the presence of God always within his heart, takes dictation from you, and lives transcendentally, unaffected by the contamination of the material world. You are the supreme controller and superintendent of the material nature's activities. The atheistic class of men simply observe the activities of material nature, but cannot find you as the original background. A devotee, however, can immediately see your hand in every moment of material nature. The curtain of Yogamaya cannot cover the eyes of the devotee of your lordship, but it can cover the eyes of the non-devotee. The non-devotee is unable to see you face to face, just as a person whose eyes are blocked by the coverings of a cloud cannot see the sun, although persons flying above the cloud can see the sunshine brilliantly, as it is.
My dear Lord, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. My dear self-fulfilled Lord, I am your eternal servitor. Therefore, kindly order me. What can I do for you? The conditioned soul feels the pangs of material contamination as threefold miseries, as long as you are not visible to him. And as soon as you are visible by development of Krishna consciousness, all miseries of material existence are simultaneously vanquished. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is naturally very much affectionately inclined to his devotees. When he heard Srutadev's prayers of pure devotion, he was very much pleased, and immediately caught his hands and addressed him thus: My dear Srutadev, all these great sages and saintly persons have been very kind to you by personally coming here to see you. You should consider this opportunity to be a great fortune for you. They are so kind that they are traveling with me, and wherever they go, they immediately make the whole atmosphere as pure as transcendence, simply by the touch of the dust of their feet. People are accustomed to go to the temples of God. They also visit holy places of pilgrimage, and after prolonged association with such activities for many days, by touch and worship, they generally become purified. They gradually become purified. But the influence of great sages and saintly persons is so great that by seeing them, one immediately becomes completely purified. Moreover, the very purifying potency of pilgrimages or worship of different demigods is also achieved by the grace of saintly persons. A pilgrimage site becomes a holy place because of the presence of the saintly persons. My dear Srutadev, when a person is born as a Brahmana, he immediately becomes the best of all human beings. And if such a Brahmana, remaining self-satisfied, practices austerities, studies the Vedas and engages in my devotional service, as is the duty of a Brahmana, in other words, if a Brahmana becomes a Vaishnava, how wonderful is his greatness. My dear, my feature of four-handed Narayana is not so pleasing or dear to me as is a Brahmana Vaishnava. Brahmana means one well conversant with Vedic knowledge. A Brahmana is the insignia of perfect knowledge, and I am the full-fledged manifestation of all gods. Less intelligent men do not understand me as the highest knowledge, nor do they understand the influence of the Brahmana Vaishnava. They are influenced by the three modes of material nature, and thus dare to criticize me and my pure devotees. How are we doing? What is the time?
Two minutes, we're fine.
One page. We end up.
A Brahmana Vaishnava. Oh, sorry, I've nicked it. It should have been you, huh? Okay. A Brahmana Vaishnava or devotee already on the Brahmanic platform can realise me within his heart. Sorry, but anyway. Therefore, he definitely concludes that the whole cosmic manifestation is different features and are effects of different energies of the Lord. Thus, he has clear conception of the whole material nature and its whole material energy. And in every action, such a devotee sees me only and nothing else. My dear Srutadev, you may therefore accept all these great saintly persons, Brahmanas and sages, as my bona fide representatives. By worshipping them faithfully, you will be worshipping me more diligently. I consider worship of my devotees to be better than direct worship of me. If someone attempts to worship me directly without worshipping my devotees, I do not accept such worship, even though it may be presented with great opulence. In this way, both the Brahmana, Srutadev, and the king of Mithila, under the direction of the Lord, worship both Krsna and his followers, the great sages and the saintly Brahmanas, on an equal level of spiritual importance. Both Brahmana and king ultimately achieve the supreme goal of being transferred to the spiritual world. The devotees do not know anyone except Lord Krishna, and Krishna is most affectionate to his devotee. Lord Krishna in Mithila, both at the house of the Brahmana Srutadev and at the palace of King Bahulasva, and at the palace of King Bahulasva, and after favouring them lavishly by his transcendental instructions, he went back to his capital city Dwarka. The instruction we receive from this incident is that King Bahulasva and Srutadev, the Brahmana, were accepted by the Lord on the same level, because that both were pure devotees. This is a real qualification for being recognised by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because it has become the fashion of this age to be falsely proud of having taken birth in the family of a Kshatriya or a Brahmana. We see persons without any qualification other than birth claiming to be Brahmana or Kshatriya or Vaishya. But as stated in the scriptures, Kalu Sudra Sambhava, in this age of Kali, everyone is a Sudra. This is because there is no performance of the purificatory processes known as samskaras, which begin from the time of the mother's pregnancy and continue up to the point of the individual's death. No one can be classified as a member of a particular caste, especially of a higher caste, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, simply by birthright. If one is not purified by the process of the seed-giving ceremony or Garbhadana Samskara, he is immediately classified among the Sudras, because only the Sudras do not undergo this purificatory process. Sex life without the purificatory process of Krishna consciousness is merely the seed-giving process of the Sudras or the animals. Well, Krishna consciousness is the highest perfection, by which everyone can come to the platform of a Vaishnava. This includes having all the qualifications of a Brahmana. The Vaishnavas are trained to become freed from the 4 kinds of sinful activity: illicit sex, indulgence in intoxicants, gambling, and eating animal foodstuffs. One cannot be on the Brahminical platform without having these preliminary qualifications, and without becoming a qualified Brahmana, one cannot become a pure devotee. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, sneaked it in there, but what to do?
Thank you for
Very good.
joining us, and especially we have special guest today, Mandragosh Prabhu.
Mandragosh Prabhu ki
Jai. Panchatattva ki
jai.
Jai.